Well, if you thought that was extreme, you won't believe this, or maybe you will because it happened on The View. This is Whoopi Goldberg. She gave a shocking claim about how black people in our country are comparing to what it's like to live in Iran.
Let's just remember, too, the Iranians literally throw gay people off of buildings. They don't adhere to basic human rights.
Listen, here's the thing. Let's not do that, because if we start with that, we have been known in this country to tie gay folks to the car.
Hours dragged like days. Then suddenly, boom. Kayleigh McEnany unleashed a truth missile so sharp, Whoopi Goldberg nearly toppled off her chair and misplaced her notes. 1 second, Whoopi's dishing out snide remarks on The View. The next, she's blindsided by facts, flair, and Kayleigh's deadly eyebrow arc. Silence swept the studio. Not a mug made a sound. And Whoopi? She looked like her script had vanished mid-scene. What line did Kayleigh drop that froze the whole room? This showdown was absolute fire.
Whoopi Goldberg has millions of dollars. Whoopi Goldberg is a famous actress. She's on a talk show, Kennedy, and it's time to educate Whoopi Goldberg. Let's meet Mahsa Amini. Mahsa Amini, we have her picture. She was in Iran, 22 years old. Didn't wear her hijab. So, of course, the morality police arrested her in Iran. She died in a re-education class in prison where she was physically abused by Iranian authorities. So apparently, this is where Whoopi would like to be.
What happens when you mix a talk show host with nonstop grievance mode, a dash of cherry-picked outrage, and a memory that skips anything inconvenient to the moral frenzy of the moment? Evidently, you end up with Whoopi Goldberg, daytime TV's crowned empress of do as I say, not as I've ever actually lived.
This is what it's all about. Either you want it to work forward thinking, you want everybody to have the ability to say how they feel, what they want, to move forward, or you don't. Or you want somebody who says, I'm going to be, on day one, I'm going to be a dictator. Who says it to you, tells you, I'm going to put you people away. I'm going to take all the journalists, I'm going to take all the gay folks, I'm going to move you all around and disappear you. If that's the country you want, you know who to vote for.
And right when the crowd figured the absurdity limit was maxed out, in walks Kayleigh McEnany, stacked with more receipts than a CVS register on Black Friday. Goldberg, bless her insulated bubble, didn't even flinch in time. Because nothing screams forward-thinking icon like boldly tripping over your own contradictions before the next ad roll, only to get ambushed by someone who actually came prepared.
Groping and electrocution of their genitals. Welcome to Iran, Whoopi Goldberg, but apparently it's harder to live in this country.
Well, it's 2025. I don't know if she knows that.
You can tell Whoopi's cornered the second Kayleigh flashes that signature stare, that get ready for a lesson wrapped in a smirk and receipts vibe. It's the kind of look that sends producers into panic mode and has publicists prepping sorry not sorry statements. See, Kayleigh didn't show up for a casual debate. She rolled in with a wrecking crew, targeting the very pedestal Whoopi's been teetering on for years.
She would not have the privilege of being on a talk show without her hijab and talking about the Iranian regime and challenging them and criticizing them any day of the week. That is what Whoopi Goldberg experiences in the United States as a successful black woman. In fact, the laws against women especially going out and assembling in order to fight the authoritarianism in Iran, that is met with death. Like you can receive the maximum penalty is death.
Let's take it back, shall we? Because nothing puts Whoopi's epic flip-flops on display like her personal blooper reel. This is the same woman who once tried to argue that some words just weren't appropriate. Yes, those exact words. As if morality has an easy mode option. That was the first clue we weren't watching a deep thinker, but someone who treats Twitter hot takes like their peer-reviewed wisdom.
That's why I am saying that it is the same. Bring someone for their difference is not good, whoever does it. It's not good. So that's why I said you weren't saying what I heard was not what you meant.
I think it's very different to live in the United States in 2025 than it is to live in Iran.
Not if you're black.
And still she perches there, part feisty Thanksgiving aunt, part encyclopedia rewritten by raw emotion, tossing out moral sermons like she's Oprah with a megaphone. You get a rant, everyone gets a rant. Only Kayleigh wasn't taking freebies. She rolled in with receipts, a sharp memory, and that subtle smile that says, I archived your hypocrisy. Whoopi kicked off her usual routine. Indignation on low simmer, contradictions on high heat. Meanwhile, Kayleigh just watched calmly, like a shark circling while the seal runs out of steam. Because here's the deal, Whoopi's stances shift faster than a trending hashtag. One day she's championing free speech like it's sacred text. The next she's calling for cancellations like she's reading names off a clipboard. Her reasoning flows like a faucet with a bad seal, spraying wildly in every direction but straight. Remember when she said political spouses should be off limits because they didn't sign up for this? Cut to her unloading 10 full minutes of jabs at a conservative wife's clothes, faith, and mere existence. Because hey, it made for spicy television. Kayleigh didn't forget. And instead of mudslinging, she simply queued up a highlight reel, so cutting it could have used a viewer discretion warning. Whoopi's countermove is always textbook. When caught, she doesn't rebut, she rewinds. She'll swerve from "you're wrong" to "back in my day," like she's gunning for a spot on vintage courtroom TV. And in that moment, you can practically feel the co-hosts brace themselves. Because here comes another long-winded tale barely tied to the topic, told with Shakespearean drama and the sourcing of a midnight message board.
And that's not to say that bad things didn't happen previously in this country, but on Juneteenth, where we recognize the emancipation from slavery, Texas, the last state, on this particular day, and she does this the day before, she's ignorant of the facts. I want to try to be kind because my expectation for Whoopi Goldberg is lower.
Meanwhile, Kayleigh watched it all unfold with the calm of someone who's already seen the final scene. No yelling, no flinching, not even a sarcastic blink. Just a quiet counterpoint, razor-sharp and politely devastating, which naturally made Whoopi unravel twice as fast, because nothing rattles a chronic interrupter quite like an opponent who refuses to take the bait. So what actually pushed Whoopi into orbit? Was it the timeline receipts, the historical callbacks, the live-cited contradictions? Nope. It was the delivery. That maddeningly steady voice that basically whispers, "This isn't personal, you're just catastrophically wrong on every level." And right on cue, Whoopi played her favorite escape card, the victim monologue. She leaned back, squinted with theatrical disbelief, and claimed she was under attack by an invisible swarm of disrespect. Because heaven forbid someone counter her emotion spiral with facts, logic, and a memory that predates TikTok. Let's also take a moment to appreciate Whoopi's unshakable theory that louder equals righter. It's practically a commandment on The View. Volume is truth. But this time, it fell flat. Kayleigh didn't rise to the noise. She just smiled that infuriatingly calm smile. The one that says, "I'm going to destroy this argument with nothing but your past quotes and some basic subtraction." Cue full-blown detonation.
But this goes beyond the pale, because if you can't see where we're coming from, then you have no hope for where we can go. That's as racist as anything else I've heard.
When Whoopi realized she couldn't outshout Kayleigh, she switched tactics. Classic emotional appeal. Out came a hazy anecdote from years ago, vague enough to dodge verification, yet dramatic enough to try doubling as a moral uppercut. But Kayleigh, calm and caffeinated like a courtroom assassin, unraveled it in under 5 sentences. Complete with dates, receipts, and a disarmingly polite, "I believe your memory may be slightly mistaken." That line? That was the surgical strike. Because somewhere deep down, Whoopi knows her past positions are a spaghetti plate of contradictions, and watching them unravel live, without the usual rescue squad of affirming co-hosts? Pure Shakespeare. By this point, Joy Behar was practically hyperventilating, tossing out the term whataboutism like a life preserver, which is The View's universal code for "we're losing control." Sunny Hostin chimed in with a meandering speech that sounded like AI-generated brunch wisdom, passionate, wordy, and utterly ineffective. Kayleigh, ever patient, just nodded through it all and calmly served her next rebuttal like a teacher handing back quizzes, marked and ready. Now let's talk about that Kayleigh style. It's not just the intelligence, it's the delivery. She speaks like someone whose arguments are trial-tested, annotated, and archived in 3 formats. She doesn't just have receipts, she's got them indexed. Every point she made landed like a gavel strike, equal parts elegance and evidence, designed to survive scrutiny from the Hill to the comments section of your aunt's political memes.
I don't know if they hand out research packets on The View, but they need to start.
There's no question. By the way, Harris also in the last hour on her show is really brilliant on this about it being Juneteenth and about how black people in this country now can rise to be a great anchor, or they can be a doctor or a lawyer. And I don't know what Whoopi was talking about, but when she played Gannon on Star Trek, she actually was a bartender talking to people and meeting them where they live. She's not meeting people where they live.
At one point, Whoopi lobbed a last-ditch claim, clearly banking on surprise. But no dice. Kayleigh arched an eyebrow, cited a headline from half a decade ago, and coolly added, "You said that during sweeps week." The audience gasped. Whoopi blinked. Somewhere backstage, a producer typed, "Can someone be sued for being this correct?" into Google. And the kicker? Kayleigh didn't follow up with a punchline. She just let the silence do the heavy lifting. That silence, that post-dismantling void, echoed louder than any retort. It whispered, "We could keep going, but there's really nothing left to examine without calling in a cleanup crew." That's what made the takedown so surgical. It wasn't loud. It wasn't petty. It was clinical. Kayleigh wasn't there to guest star in Whoopi's weekly solo on moral superiority. She showed up to redline the whole monologue. The aftermath played out like clockwork. Twitter detonated. The usual outlets labeled it tense, which is media code for "we're still workshopping spin to protect Whoopi." And The View? They cut to commercial so fast it could have qualified as whiplash. One moment, Whoopi's grasping for control. The next, it's a slow-mo cat licking kibble to the voiceover of someone who also sounded lost. But the real victory wasn't in the retweets or the press coverage. It's in the quiet unease now baked into Whoopi's delivery. Because once your contradictions get exposed with surgical calm on live TV, you don't just rebound. You start second-guessing your own script. You pause before each rant. You side-eye the stage like Kayleigh might reappear with another headline and a footnote.
But this goes beyond the pale, because if you can't see where we're coming from, then you have no hope for where we can go. That's as racist as anything else I've heard.
And isn't that the delicious twist? After years spent sermonizing about truth, integrity, and responsible platforms, Whoopi got dismantled by someone who actually walks that talk. No theatrics, no grandstanding, just clean, concentrated precision with a smug side glance for garnish. So what's the takeaway? Easy. If you're going to rewrite your personal history live on daytime TV, pray there's no Kayleigh McEnany nearby. Or at the very least, bury the archives deep, because she'll track them down, color-code them, cite them by segment and timestamp, and deliver them with a smile so courteous it ought to be considered a lethal device. Meanwhile, Whoopi might consider a break. Maybe a book club, ideally one where nobody owns a search bar. Or better yet, launch a solo podcast where interruptions don't exist and self-contradictions echo unchallenged. Because until then, Kayleigh stays undefeated in the arena of live TV logic judo. And Whoopi? She's stuck mid-rant, side-eyeing the audience, and wondering when the applause button stopped working. As for the viewers, they got more unfiltered entertainment in 8 minutes than a full season of scripted drama. Turns out accountability can be laugh-out-loud funny. And honestly, if The View wants to survive this new standard, maybe it's time for a rebrand. Less roundtable debate, more receipt recon with Kayleigh on speed dial and a caution label for delicate egos.
And one more thing, Iran just passed another law at the end of last year, making it even worse for young women and girls, where they can be put to death for this, for showing their legs, like the women on The View. It's unconscionable that she would try to make a moral equivalency here.
Gross.
Yeah, how offensive. I mean, Emily, there are a lot of courageous Iranians who have stood up to the government, young women in particular, and said, no, I want freedom. And they've lost their lives because of it. I mean, does Whoopi have any understanding of that?
You could practically feel the tension radiating off the studio walls as the seconds dragged on. What started as another routine midday meltdown morphed into a nationally broadcasted lesson in self-destruction brought to you by someone utterly unequipped to handle anything beyond applause and affirming head nods. The panel squirmed, pretending to reread cue cards like they held the secrets of the universe. The cameras kept rolling, but the energy in the room shifted hard. Because nothing shatters performative outrage faster than realizing you're out of sound bites, out of support, and out of ammo, while the whole country watches. Suddenly, everyone at the table became masters in the art of looking anywhere but at the implosion. Kayleigh didn't smirk. She didn't posture. She didn't have to. The quiet spoke louder than a closing argument. In that moment, the facade cracked, not from confrontation or chaos, but from the precision of pure silence, sharp enough to gut a bloated narrative without drawing a drop of blood. The aftermath? Magnificent. Media outlets bent themselves into syntactical pretzels trying to reframe what viewers had just witnessed. Writers labeled it a heated exchange, while quietly scrapping yesterday's takes praising someone's supposed intellectual consistency. Late-night comics steered clear, because who wants to roast someone who's already charred? Meanwhile, viewers who still remember what someone said last week hit rewind and watched it unfold again. Clarity, it turns out, is a rare and dangerous disruptor in a world where confusion is monetized. And for once, clarity took center stage. Next time the sermon starts, people might hesitate before clapping on cue. Because somewhere, a Kayleigh is tuned in, ready, waiting, and armed with nothing but facts and an unshakable calm to flatten the next episode of televised revisionism.